So I went to a Women in Gaming Q&A/panel in LA a few weeks ago, and mainly I went to support Brizzy Voices, who is one of my favorite YouTubers. She will actually be the subject of my next Who's Who in my subscription box video that I make. That is not this video. In fact, this is a Brizzy Voices t-shirt that you can get from Hank and John Green's store, dftba.com. It was a very interesting panel. It was basically about women who are Twitch streamers and, the various things that they have to deal with by being women doing Twitch streaming. And I'll admit, the majority of the people I follow on Twitch are women, and that's because I like seeing the other point of view when it comes to gaming. I don't really need to watch male gamers that much because I am a male gamer. I know the point of view of a male gamer, so I like seeing the point of view of a female gamer. This is also why in most video games where you can choose to play as a male or female character, I will generally always pick a female character because I play my daily life as a male character, so it's interesting to play as a female character in these games. But anyway, that was a lot of info to get out for an intro, and I couldn't do it all in one take, which I generally like to do, but sometimes you gotta edit. Anyway, on to the actual video. Hey guys, Sean here. So a thing went to, so let's look at that. So I'm headed to Santa Monica to go to an all-night movie marathon, which is scheduled to go from 7:30 p.m. until 6 a.m. I am going to be rather exhausted after that. I shall hopefully be doing updates after each movie to tell you what I saw and what I thought of it. I've actually seen all 5 of the movies that we're going to be watching, so it'll be interesting. I actually liked all of them when I first saw them, so it should be good. The theme of all of these movies are undead comedies. They're basically movies that are horror movies first and comedies second. When I tell you which movies they are, you'll see what I'm talking about. Hopefully I'm able to get in not only with my camera, but with... you know what it is. Alright, so the first movie was 1983's Return of the Living Dead. The basic premise of this movie is there are 2 guys working in a medical supply warehouse. Frank and Freddy. Frank is the older, wiser man of the 2, and then Freddy is the younger, apprentice. Frank tells Freddy that Night of the Living Dead was based on real events and that the bodies from when that happened are actually in the basement of the warehouse that they're in. They go in the basement, he shows them the containers the bodies are in, and they end up accidentally releasing the gas that is within it, and it ends up getting into the warehouse, and there's a cadaver in there, and the cadaver comes back to life. They end up calling Bert, the owner of the factory, and he shows up, and they take the cadaver across the street. A lot of skateboarders. They end up taking the cadaver across the street to the mortuary where Bert's friend Ernie, I'm sure that's intentional, ends up putting the body in the incinerator, and they incinerate the body, and then the gases from that end up getting into the clouds, and it creates an acid rain, which ends up going into the cemetery next door and bringing all of the cadavers to life there. It's a very silly movie. It's very 80s. It's quite entertaining. Not as entertaining as the crowd makes it out to be, but that's because it's a crowd full of hipster film nerds, which I guess I'm part of now. Anyway, time to go back in for whatever's next. The second movie was Re-animator from 1985. I had seen this before. It's been a very long time since I've seen Re-animator. Basically, this is the story of Dr. Herbert West, who is an apprentice to a Swedish or German mad scientist who came up with a reanimation potion that would be able to bring people back to life shortly after they die. Jeffrey Combs plays Dr. Herbert West, and it's one of the best performances in any movie ever. Jeffrey Combs should win an award every single year for the rest of his life because of this. This movie was actually referenced in the Best Picture film American Beauty, if you ever saw that. It's a movie that people kind of have forgotten existed, even though it won Best Picture that year. One of the best things to come out of Re-animator was something that I saw 7 years ago. It's one of the best things I've seen since I've been in California, and that was Re-animator the musical. The director of the movie and the writer of the movie made a musical version of it for stage, and it was a small, intimate stage. It only held 100 people. It was at the Steve Allen Theater, and it's easily one of the funniest things I've ever seen in person. And I really want to see it again. I should really look into if it's going to be happening again anytime soon, because I need to see it again. Anyway, that was movie 2, Re-animator, so now we're going back in. The third film this is the one of the 5 that I've seen the most, and it's probably the most famous of the 5 of them, so see when it's done. This makes for an interesting shot. I don't know what this store is. So, third film was 1987's Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is a weird film because the first 10 minutes of it is a remake of Evil Dead 1. The Evil Dead series, of course, is 3 movies: Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. Last year, it was finally turned into a television series, Ash vs. the Evil Dead. There's also a remake of the original Evil Dead in, like, the last 5 years that I haven't seen yet. I should probably see that. This movie is great. It's a classic. I mean, everyone who's seen horror movies has seen it, and it still holds up to this day. It is currently 1:04 a.m. There's 2 more movies. It looks like a lot of people are leaving now because I think they just wanted to see the first 3 movies. The next one is supposed to be really long and in Italian, and then there's one more after that. Both of them I've only seen once, and I don't know if I want to stay for it, especially because the only people that I knew that were going to be here, one is stuck in Northern California and the other one left. Oh well, I need the content, so let's go back in. It is 3 a.m. We just watched from 1993 Cemetery Man. It was the Italian version of it. Well, I mean the Italian cut of it. Basically all that means is that it was longer and all the credits and everything were in Italian. A lot of the signs in the movie were in Italian. I've seen that movie before. I saw it like 7 years ago when a friend of mine gave me a list of movies to watch. It was on it. I didn't really remember anything about it, and now I remember why, because it is a zombie comedy that is artsy and pretentious and not very good, especially compared to the 3 movies that we watched before it, so. One more to go. Hopefully it's better than that. Wonder how much of the engine noise the camera is going to pick up. Anyway, it's 4:52 a.m. The 5th movie was Night of the Creeps. I'm pretty sure I saw this movie like 4 or 5 Halloweens ago. I don't really remember anything about it other than the fact that it felt like it was a movie made in like the 90s that was a parody of movies from the 80s, but it was actually made in 1983, so that made it kind of strange. It was enjoyable, much more than Cemetery Man. It was a good way to end the evening. I understand why they showed the movies in the order they did. The first 3 are definitely what people wanted to see, so they started with them and then threw the other 2 on the end for the diehard people that were willing to stick around in order to see all 5 movies. There was only like 30% of the people left by the end. But anyway, I'm tired and I'm gonna head home so that I can eventually become the guy I'm about to cut to. So take it away, whatever we call you. So wait, does this mean that field reporter Sean came home, got in like a cocoon, and then is now me? Does this technically make me future Sean? Oh, this is so confusing. So as I said, I had actually seen all of these movies before, but I enjoyed them to a point. I didn't really enjoy Cemetery Man too much because it is such pretentious, artistic... Well, it's Italian. That's what it is. It's Italian. I mean, once the movie ended, I really had no idea what I had just seen. Overall, these 5 movies had 3 things in common. There was some form of reanimated dead people, and then humor involved in some way, and then tits. A lot of tits. Is tits considered a bad word? I mean, it is one of the 7 dirty words, but overall it's pretty innocent. I mean, it's compared to the other 7 dirty words, it's leave it in? Leave it in. As I was saying, the crowd for this event was, you know, severe hipster movie fans, so they thought every single inch of all of these movies were hilarious. I think they're funny, but not nearly as funny as the hipster movie fans did. And I knew that in Evil Dead 2, when he puts the chainsaw on his hand and says groovy, that they would lose their minds, and sure enough, they did. It was like the greatest moment in movie history to them at that very moment. There was cheering and applause, and it's like, yeah, I mean, everyone here has seen this movie like 7 times. We knew it was gonna happen. It's just, I like movies, but I could never like movies as much as these people do. In fact, the first 3 movies were actually shown on 35mm, and then the second 2 were shown on digital, and I greatly preferred the look of the digital ones, but you know, the hardcore movie fans, they're like, 35mm is how it should be. It's because, you know, you can see the grain, you can see all the, and it's like, it's 2017. You know, there's something to be said about advances in technology. No, you're not getting the real experience if you don't see the hitching and hear the shutter, hear the projector behind. It's not the same, and it's like, okay, all right, whatever. I think really what I'm saying is that I'm just jealous that they have found something that they love that much. But I digress. So yeah, would I do another all-night marathon like this? Yeah, I probably would if, well, depending on the theater that it's at, and then also if I've seen the movies, that might help too. When it comes to the theater that it's at, this is actually the second all-night movie marathon that I have done since I've moved to California. The first one I went to was at the New Beverly, which is a theater that is owned by Quentin Tarantino, and it is really, really terrible when it comes to seating, because the seats in it are, oh, just horrible. They're very compact, and they are not very cushiony, and to sit in them for 12 hours was almost utter torture. That marathon, though, was slightly interesting in the fact that they don't tell you what the movies are going to be in advance. It's all secret up until the movie starts, so that's kind of interesting, but overall, that one, I just can't do that one anymore. I did it once, so I'm good for that. This one was at the Aero Theater in Santa Monica, and the seats were much better. Now, I say much better, but that comes with a slight caveat. You see, they're still the cramped, old-timey movie seats, but they at least have some sort of padding on them, unlike the ones at the New Bev. And it didn't hurt the fact that I didn't have anyone on either side of me, because I was sitting on the aisle on one side and there was no one sitting next to me on the other side, so I could stretch out all I wanted. But yeah, all these old-timey movie theaters across LA, they just, when it comes to seating, they can't compare with modern-day movie theaters. Especially if you've ever gone to an iPic theater, oh my goodness. Oh, I could watch a 24-hour movie marathon in an iPic theater. I've never gone to the El Capitan, so I don't know what the seats are like there, but they actually did have a 24-hour movie marathon. When Avengers 2 came out, they showed all of the Marvel movies leading up to Avengers 2, and it lasted like 26 hours. I wonder if they'll do that again when Infinity War 2 comes out, because that would be like almost 2 days worth of film. But anyway, that was the overnight movie marathon of zombie comedies that I went to. I say zombie because I wouldn't really call the undead creatures in Evil Dead zombies necessarily, as they are possessed by demons. And I wouldn't necessarily call the undead creatures in Night of the Creeps zombies either, as they are possessed-ish by alien symbiotes. So really it was more of an undead comedy marathon. I guess this is the part where I asked for like comments. That's something I haven't done. I've done the call to action. I've been doing good at that, but I haven't done the call to comments. I don't know what they call that. Is that part of the call to action? You don't know. Actually, isn't anyone there? I'm actually talking to a thing full of vinyl pop figures. But yeah, have you ever gone to an all-night movie marathon in a theater, or have you ever seen any of these 5 movies? Again, it was Return of the Living Dead, Re-animator, Evil Dead 2, Cemetery Man, and Night of the Creeps. If you have, feel free to leave a comment down below telling me what you thought of the all-night movie marathon you went to, or what the subject of the marathon was, or where it was, or whatever you want about the movie marathon, or your thoughts on these 5 movies that I have discussed in this video. And also, while you're down there, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you want to see more of the random craziness that I do on this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to help support the random craziness of this video, go ahead and hit up my Patreon. And with that, have a good however long it is until you watch my next video.